Why Ozempic makes high achievers worse, not better. Now, this is the truth about what Ozempic is actually doing to your brain and body that no one is talking about, and why for guys like you, it's the worst thing possible you can put in your body. I'm going to show you the real mechanism behind it and the peer-reviewed science the drug companies don't put in their adverts. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this drug is making high performers feel like ghosts in their own life and what you can actually do instead. And my name is Ryan Martin. I've been a health coach for 17 plus years. I've helped over 7,500 people get their energy, focus and drive back without pharmaceuticals. And just quickly, everything in this video is educational, not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Always talk to a qualified healthcare professional before doing anything with this information. So, that being said, stick around for the next 15 minutes because what I'm about to show you, almost nobody on the internet is talking about. Now, everyone around you is dropping weight on Ozempic. People you know look different and your wife's friends are probably skinny again, and the numbers on the scale are moving for everyone but you. So you start to wonder, maybe I should do this too. And I get it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend the appeal isn't there for people because I know it is. The drug works for what it's marketed to do. It drops weight fast. But if you're already feeling completely drained day in, day out, this drug might be the worst thing you can do. Now, there's a word for what you're feeling. Doctors call it anhedonia. And it just means you can't feel pleasure the way you used to. Wins don't give you the same pleasure anymore. The hobbies you used to look forward to don't really interest you anymore. Your wife says you're not present anymore for the family. And it isn't laziness or a character issue. This is what happens when you push the human body hard enough for long enough. Years of stress, coffee to start your day, then nicotine to keep you going. Maybe you're using alcohol at night. Your reward system has been running on red for years and it's now empty. And Ozempic works on that same reward system, the exact one that's running on fumes. And I'm going to show you exactly, what it does and what it does to the body. And so you probably know Ozempic shuts down hunger. What most people don't know is how it does that. So GLP-1 receptors, those are the things that Ozempic plugs into, and they aren't just sitting in your gut, they're also deep in your brain, right in the part that decides what feels good and pulls you towards things you want. And the science here goes back years, and a study in 2012 in the Journal of Endocrinology mapped GLP-1 receptors in the brain's reward circuit. Just think of them as a part that wants things. So when Ozempic floods your body with synthetic GLP-1, it doesn't just shut off hunger, it turns down the dial on wanting. That's why people stop wanting food the way they used to. It does work, but what no one is talking about, the same control doesn't only affect food, it affects how you feel in general. Doctors and patients are reporting something they're calling Ozempic personality. Now, Ozempic or anhedonia, real people on this drug say things like, I used to love wine, now I have no interest in it. I don't want sex the way I used to. My hobbies feel pointless. I just feel flat. And this isn't fringe internet stuff. News outlets have been covering this, and there's emerging discussion in medical journals. Some doctors are calling it drug-induced anhedonia, meaning the drug itself is causing it. In 2024, the FDA looked at reports of mood problems on this drug and didn't find proof it caused depression or worse. The European health regulators came to the same conclusion. One big real-world study even showed lower rates of mental health issues in people on it. So I'm not saying this drug causes depression. I want to be clear about that. What I'm telling you is the drug works by turning down your reward system. Some people barely notice, but if you're running on a depleted reward system already, if you already feel numb and flat before you ever touch the drug, you're exactly the person who's going to feel the cost of this the most. And so what does it do in your body? I want to show you what it does in your body, this drug, because the brain thing is just a start. And a quick note before we keep going, when most people say Ozempic, they're actually talking about the whole family of GLP-1 drugs. The same drug, semaglutide, is sold as Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight loss. Same molecule, just a different brand, okay? And I'm going to keep calling it Ozempic because that's what everyone is calling it. But the research I'm about to share covers both, okay? And the muscle loss that happens as well. So when you lose weight fast on this class of drug, you don't just lose fat, you lose muscle too, and a lot of it. And the big step 1 trial, one of the main trials that got this drug approved for weight loss, measured this. Most people lost 10% of their lean body mass. That's real muscle gone. And a review of multiple studies found that in some cases up to 40% of the weight people lost was lean tissue, not fat. Now, for a guy already losing testosterone with age, dropping that much muscle isn't getting lean, it's getting weaker and it's getting older fast. I want you to really realise that, okay? Now, doctors started calling it sarcopenia obesity. Normal weight on the scale, but the body has lost too much of the muscle that drives your metabolism and strength. And some studies suggest it can happen with rapid pharmaceutical weight loss, especially without resistance training and adequate protein intake. Okay, and also when you stop taking Ozempic, the weight comes back. This is published and settled research. The step 1 follow-up study showed people regain 2/3 of the weight in 1 year. That's 2/3. It's not the same weight. You lost muscle and fat, and you regain mostly fat. Body composition ends up worse than before you started. Okay, the blood pressure improvement, that's mostly gone, and all the gains from the drug, most of them have reverted back towards where you started. The study put it plainly: when you stop the drug, most of the health benefits go with it. The drug is also marketed as a long-term chronic care medication, but the real-world data tells a completely different story because no one actually takes it long-term. Studies show roughly half the people quit within the first 12 months, and one study showed only about 22% of people are still on it after 2 years. That means most people are getting on, losing weight, getting weak, quitting, gaining the weight back, and then trying again. Each time you do that cycle, you're a little weaker and a little more dependent. And you've probably seen this: the hollow cheeks, the sunken temples, the skin that looks like it doesn't fit anymore. Plastic surgeons actually have a name for it now. They call it Ozempic face, and it's now in the peer-reviewed medical literature. It's not technically a side effect of the drug. It's what happens when you lose fat and muscle from your face faster than your skin can keep up. The result is that you look 10 years older, and some celebrities have it. Maybe you've seen your friends start to show it. And then you've got the actual risk: pancreatitis, gallbladder disease, gastroparesis. That last one means your stomach literally stops moving food. And there's also a thyroid tumour risk seen in animal studies, which is why the FDA put a black box warning on it. And if you need surgery, you have to stop the drug a week before, because the food sitting in your stomach can actually get into your lungs while you're under. Stomach side effects are very common on this: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain. The big chunk of users get hit with this. And in the clinical trials, nausea alone affected around 1 in 5 people on Ozempic for diabetes, and closer to 44% on the higher Wegovy dose. Those are the everyday ones, and they're on the FDA label. And this is a drug being prescribed to millions of people, as long-term treatment. So now you've probably seen the other side of the internet: the gelatin trick, the lemon and ginger shot, apple cider vinegar before meals, all the natural Ozempic videos. And they've got millions of views on social media just this year, and they're not totally fake, but they're not as good as they seem. And early research shows that the amino acid glycine found in gelatin can mildly bump GLP-1 release. Bitter taste receptors in the gut do trigger gut hormones, and fiber feeds the bacteria that boost GLP-1. So the mechanism is real, but the effect is small. But you get nothing but a fraction of what the drug does. And calling it Nature's Ozempic is marketing, it's not actual science. And there's actually a bigger problem. Both the drug and the gelatin trick are answering the wrong question. They're both trying to crank GLP-1 from the outside, with one with a needle and one with a powder. And neither asks the real question, and that is, why did your body stop making the right amount on its own? Because what's actually happening, it should be making this hormone at the right time, in the right amount, every day of your life, and it isn't. And there's a specific reason why. And once you see the reason, you can't unsee it. And every conversation you've heard about Ozempic, weight loss, cravings, food noise, all of it starts looking different once you understand this. Your body's hunger system isn't broken because you're missing a drug. It's broken because of 3 things that go wrong at the same time. 3 big failures. And until those things get fixed, no shot or powder will work long term. They're just band-aids on a wound that keeps getting bigger underneath. And so the first is inflammation. For most guys watching this, the cells in your gut that make GLP-1 are sitting on tissue that's chronically inflamed. Years of bad food, stress, booze, antibiotics will do that to your gut lining. And when the gut lining starts to break and leak, waste enters into your blood. Your immune system reads that as an attack and then switches on inflammation. And it's the slow, chronic kind of inflammation that never shuts off. The whole signaling system gets scrambled, and your brain stops trusting the fullness signals it gets. Your blood sugar swings get harder to control, and your body shifts into a state where it's always on the alert. The food cravings you experience, that constant pull towards sugar and fast carbs is partly your inflamed brain begging for relief, and it's not a willpower problem, it's your body actually setting off its fire alarms. Now the second failure is insulin resistance. When your cells stop using insulin properly, your blood sugar swings hard. That drives cravings and afternoon crashes through the roof. You end up reaching for sugar and caffeine just to function, and your hunger brain stops hearing the fullness signals too. So even when GLP-1 is being made, you don't feel full. You eat, you don't feel full, so you eat more than you actually need. The drug suppresses this loop but doesn't fix it. The cells are still deaf and the signals are still broken. You just stopped hearing yourself scream for food. The third failure is your cellular energy. Now the little power plants in your cells are called mitochondria. They make the energy you run on, and when they work right, you have energy, and when they're broken, you don't. Years of stress, bad food, poor sleep, alcohol, antibiotics, whatever it is, they start making less energy and more waste because of this. And here's where it all ties back. Studies link mitochondrial damage to insulin resistance. Researchers still debate which one causes the other. When the mitochondria don't work right, either way, when the mitochondria don't work right, the whole metabolic system suffers. When your cells can't make energy, your whole hormone system gets thrown off. Your hunger signals stop working right, and your body fights to hold on to fat. Your brain, sensing low energy, demands more sugar. That's why the cravings get worse the more tired you are. It's not a weakness, guys, okay? It's your body being starved of energy at a cellular level. And so chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, and a broken cellular energy, these three are behind almost every chronic problem of modern life. The weight you can't lose is the same problem as the brain fog and the anxiety. The fatigue and the loss of drive come from the same place. They're not separate problems, they're the same problems showing up in different parts of the same broken machine. And Ozempic doesn't fix any of them. The gelatin trick doesn't either. Nothing you inject or swallow fixes them. If the real problem gets fixed, you don't need the drug. The whole drug industry is built on long-term meds, not root cause healing. This is what no one is telling you. And your body can actually make GLP-1 just fine when the conditions inside are right. The drug isn't replacing something missing, it's bypassing a broken system while the damage underneath keeps getting worse. And every day you bypass it, you get further from being able to fix it. So what is the actual fix? Now it's the same system I walk all my guys through, and it comes down to 3 steps done in the exact right order, and I call it the mitochondrial revival protocol. And the order, the sequence is everything. Get the sequence wrong and you waste months. Get it right and your body comes back online faster than you could ever imagine. And so step 1 is getting your nervous system in survival mode, regulating your nervous system. This is first and it's non-negotiable. Nothing else works until your body believes it's safe enough to heal. If you're stuck in fight or flight, your gut won't repair and your cells won't rebuild, no matter what you throw at them. And so we pull the body out of a chronic stress state first, using specific breath work, eye movements, vagal tone. So we pull the body out of chronic stress first, using specific breath work, eye movements, vagal tone exercises, etc. And these few changes get cortisol back under control. Once that happens, your sleep starts to repair itself, and deep sleep is when your body actually heals. Then you've got step 2, this is deep cellular detoxification. Now once the nervous system is calm, we go after the inflammation and the toxic load. This is where we rebuild the gut lining from the inside out. Then we clear that out, the burden that your body's been holding on to or carrying for years. The byproducts of living a bad life that your colon and liver haven't been able to process the foods you've been eating. This is done with proper protocols, not just a juice cleanse off TikTok. Very, very specific protocols. When this gets cleared, the chronic inflammation driving your scrambled hunger signals starts to come down, and your gut can finally make GLP-1 the way it was supposed to. And step 3 is mitochondria. Now the damage has stopped and the toxic load is cleared, but we rebuild the cellular power plants that have been running on empty. This is where we feed the mitochondria the exact raw materials they need and restore your antioxidant defenses so they stop leaking energy. This isn't done with a drug or peptide or fancy supplement stack. It's done by giving your body the conditions it needs and getting out of the way. And this is why it really matters, because most people try to fix this on their own and they start with the wrong step. They jump into a hardcore cleanse before their nervous system is regulated and they crash within a week. Or they try to fix their hormones before their gut is healed and the supplements don't even absorb. Some white knuckle a fasting protocol while their cells are still inflamed and end up worse than when they started. And if you do it wrong, it's going to set you back. If you do it in the right order and your body comes back online, the cravings disappear and your energy comes back to levels you haven't felt in years. The brain fog lifts and you start feeling pleasure from the small things again. When all 3 are done right, your hormones recalibrate on their own. You don't force it with a drug, your body remembers how to make GLP-1 because the conditions are finally right. The bottom line is, you don't need a weekly injection, you need to fix the system the injection is trying to bypass. Ozempic shrinks you, the real work rebuilds you from the ground up. Now, I went deep on the cellular energy side in another video, where I break down exactly how to rebuild your mitochondria and get your energy back to where it was in your 20s. That's the engine behind this whole thing, and it's the most important piece that no one gets right. I'll link it right here. Go and watch that next, because it's a natural next step after this. And if this video helped you at all, if it helped you see Ozempic clearly for the first time, give it a like so it gets in front of more people who need to see this before they pull the trigger and go down this slippery slope. Martin, I'll speak to you soon.